So I want to condense these more and more, and just reach their power and their essence quickly. So the concept here is just going to call it Psychosphere, and it's going to be around this series of Basquiat drawings that I'm going to include here to kind of continue this thread on Basquiat, because he is so essentially important in what we're discussing here in this unity between cosmos and psyche, and drawing out the inner nature, the essence through the psyche. This is a highly intuitive, artistic, creative process, and as we've discussed, as far-reaching as Schrödinger, Einstein, Bohm, the greatest quantum physicists themselves have a deep appreciation for the intuitive and the artistic, because they understand the importance of the drawing outward from within through attention, the intuitive creative drive, which is itself a phenomenon of witnessing in a participatory universe, and drawing out the inner essence, and thus expunging the physical material and revealing the psychic, pre-phenomenological, essential, pre-contextual, I like that energy. So this is Basquiat and naming the Orphic body. So here, kind of what we're talking about, and this is very, very nuanced, is that every form, right, has a psychic waveform, and if we understand the universe as an energetic principle of transformation and transmutation, as in a nesting doll or a nesting cell of thermonuclear energy, radiation, which is transforming down through scales, we understand that the sound waveform body is itself the fundamental principle of physical reality, and is itself the physical incarnate form, including the human form. And this itself is a psychic status or condition of awareness as to the natural mechanics of the unfolding of the body. And as such, the creation, fomentation, and development of the brain as a sophisticated technological instrument of understanding, processing, intuiting, digesting, conceptualizing, and co-occurring with the grand principle and force of cosmological energy itself proper. Right? So this is the unity of cosmos and psyche. So we discussed with Basquiat this moment of the transformative encounter of the brief horror of the revelation of being out from under the sedimental, as in the historical material appearance of being, as in the human form, as a genetic construct. What we're really talking about here is the transmutative encounter with the real mythic and poetic state of the psyche, as an unfreezing of the pattern of repetition, as in the unconscious history. This is a psychological phenomenon just as much as it is a natural, genetic, deep historical, deep time glacial phenomenon of the unfolding of the body as a sound wave form, as a language and a linguistic, a symbol and a sign. Whether we're talking about a mountain, or we're talking about a planet, we're talking about a star. This is a waveform body. So what Basquiat is doing, and this is the ancient Orphic principle, which we will discuss here, is bringing the disapparent, or the energetic state of the waveform, into the everyday through the image artifact, or the sound wave body. Again, this is the Orphic. Orpheus as the musician who communes with nature, whose music is understood by the animals and the plants and the trees, and this is why, right, in a mythic sense. Or the sound wave body of symbolic articulation, which allows the cosmos and psychic real, the cosmic and the psychic real, to penetrate into the apparent sensate realm of the human, which again is making the real domain of the quantum physical, quantum mechanical, energetic realm apparent, as in the construct which informs the current state of apperception, vessel, and vehicle, and experience of the human. This is the key to the lock, or it is the unlocking of the profound underlying essential human experience, pre-human primordial experience of existence itself. And as such is the purgation of the stuck or static psychic condition of the presupposed normalcy of the historical everyday, which is the sedimentary piling of genetic language, symbolic language, mountaintops, planets, star systems, in their predictable orbits or patterns of repetition, which are a gravitational field of the unconscious, as in a historical repetition of same. And this, of course, interestingly enough, is Basquiat's graffiti name, Samo. Right? So we're getting into it here. It's interesting. And as such, I am using the term psychosphere, as in the True Detective Season 1. I really love that term. It's brought up by Rust Cole. He is a profoundly, deeply intuitive, observational, listening, and sensitive person, which historically is the role of the medicine person or the shaman, right? And I'm going to get into this a little bit more, again, in the Orphic sense, because Orpheus himself is the archetype of the medicine person, the shaman, right? And so these Orphic rituals, particularly of musical transmutation through the naming of the energetic real as it is incarnate first and foremost as and in the sound wave, music itself being a direct communion with that energetic source and force, is itself the purgation, as in Rust Cole in True Detective Season 1, which this manner and method of engagement with the deeper a priori prior to the phenomenological, as in the deeper hidden truth of things or reality of things, leads to the unveiling and revealing, as in revelation, of the undercurrent or the underlying psychic and deep physical conditions which haunt the dormant body of the community or the civilization or the human being at large, which in the case of True Detective Season 1 is this vast network of corruption which underlies the governance of this province in Louisiana. So we're talking about the historical healing of the sound wave through song as embodied revelation, and Basquiat is really Basquiat in the sense of his deep communion with musicians like Miles Davis. Basquiat himself is the visual song, or the visual blues improvisation upon the image of humanity and mankind, which is the liberating freedom of taking the inner elements, the inner structural elements of the human experience, and depicting them more truly. This is the historical role of the emergence of subjective art in Western civilizational history, which is a modernist construct. It's a turning back in upon the self and reflecting upon the self, and a withdrawal from the phenomenological physical reality, which in a Western art historical phenomenon aligns itself eerily with the emergence of psychology and quantum mechanics and quantum physics. Right, so we're going to keep going here. Just looking at my notes here. Yes. So this is a revealing, as in the Orphic function, as in bringing to consciousness, as in the creation of the sound wave form of the more true energetic revelation. So this is out from under the appearance of things, the creation of the poetic image, which is either distilled in a drawing or a sketch or a sound wave, as in a song, a more true energetic revelation as a representation of the signature of that which is a revelation prior to and a priori, the symbolic chain, as it is the unspoken unconscious manifestation or dormant sedimentary reality, which is revealed through the light of speaking into being, that which is beyond appearing. So this is a vision. And so when I talk about visionary subjectivities, I'm talking about the vision of reality in a clearer sense, in a cogent, clarified, distilled sense, which emerges through the psyche and the psyche's engagement with the physical, physiological, phenomenological template of reality, the things that appear to be, and thus a revelation out from under those forms, as is apparent in Basquiat's mask drawings, right, or the drawings of the human face or the human body, which themselves are usually isolated in space in these sketches and these drawings, which are his works on paper. It's a revelation out from under that phenomenological structure, the skeleton of the human form, the real energetic state of being, as in the world itself is a mask, and that what Basquiat is depicting is not the mask, but the true appearance of being out from under the phenomenological mask of superficial or surface level seeing, which is phenomenology, which is the physical incarnate realm, and the seeming opacity, which is penetrated only by the deep intuitive shamanic or medicine person. This again is a ancient world medicine, ancestral healing, world historical phenomenon, and this is the true roots of psychology, far beyond the Western medical practice as a attempted historical material distillation of this profound spiritual and energetic process, as a descent into the psyche and energetic realm, and performing poetic diagnoses, as in an imagistic depiction, as in a drawing forth a revelation of the real inner condition of being, as in feeling, as in sensate, embodied, incarnate, experiential experience, which is itself informing the physical, as that itself is a stage or a status in time, and as such a dislodgement of the temporary inhibitive status, as an evolutionary block or leap. It's the structure that's being presupposed by a psychic condition, which can be broken through by conscious awareness, as in the depiction of the deeper inner reality. And this again is an emotional sensate feeling. The psychic body itself is a form, but it is within the organism and is hyper-penetrative in the sense that it has to be drawn out into and through language, into depictive experience, that the psychic body itself needs space to depict itself because it's necessarily a liberated body. And what I mean by the liberated body is that the psychic body, this is also the function of the dream, which is the poetic and true psychological function of energetic healing. It's the breaking of the ground, of the formal ground of the physical body, is what the psyche does. Inherently and intuitively, it breaks gravity, it breaks the rules of space-time, and as such is, in terms of the symbolic chain of the representation of being, is closer to fundamental and absolute spirit and consciousness. It does not obey the physical laws of the incarnate body, and as such is appearing through the incarnate body as a profound form of liberation out from under this pseudo-system of imprisonment. And I kind of want to draw closer to this with the modern psychologist and Dr. Gabor Mate talking about illness in the body and cancer patients and repressed emotion. So emotion is an energy that circulates. It's the feeling experience of the body, which itself informs the inner pressure and state and literal vibratory condition, as in the sound wave form of the body itself. This is the temperature of the body. This is the constriction of the blood vessels. This is the patterns of the nervous system. So you have to understand this, because this is very profound. It's the experience, which is the psychic condition, is actually transforming the body, and this is the foundation of epigenetics. So this energy can become stuck in the body, which without continual articulation and expression, it can't be liberated without expression, without revelation of that which it is itself. And this is the historical importance of art, and how and where you see the shamanic figure, the medicine figure, being the highly expressive creative figure who is themselves in an ancient mythical chironic sense, healing themselves, and through that self-healing, creating the actual possibility, as in the expressive technology, the expressive vessel, as in Basquiat, really, of depicting the inner psychological state and condition of humanity or a human being, and thus freeing them from that imprisonment. And this is why I say Orphic, because this is Orpheus descending into hell to retrieve Eurydice. And this is the function of the true music of history. So I'm going to keep going here. This is also a principle that's manifest in Chinese energy medicine. And so what I'm going to say here is there's a profound polarity and a divide between the Eastern and Western hemispheres, because Western medicine fails to deduce true cause and causation, as in a real interrogation into, as it would be discussed in Chinese medicine, the qi, the qi, or the energetic dimension, as in the character of being itself. Again, this is Heraclitus. This is deeply Heraclitean. We're talking about the character of being and how the character of being is being informed and expressed as an historical paradigm, which is manifesting materially or phenomenologically as a symptom. So in Western medicine, the course of action is so often to treat the symptom, but not to interrogate the real energetic condition behind the emergence of the symptom. It's a failure of logic process. And as such, a failure of process to really treat and deduce and understand the human being as a real appearance or appearance of the waveform. It's a phenomenological state of the waveform, as in an energetic condition. So that's interrogation of the psychic body, because the psychic body itself, both in a grand cosmological sense and in an intimate personal sense, is that which informs the appearance of the body, entirely and holistically. So this is a failure of Western metaphysics and philosophy implicit in the architecture of Western medicine. None of this is separate. Western medicine is Descartes informed. So you're looking at hypermaterialism at the expense of the real energetic conditions of being, as in a prelapsarian Newtonianism. That's what I wrote here. A religion of devotion to symptom or form, or failure to do real diagnostic into the energetic status behind and thus preceding the appearance of form as in symptom. So again, what we just mentioned, and what I mean by prelapsarian Newtonianism, with risk of that being just complicated by the language, it's actually deeply precise, is that we're looking at a condition which, when we talk about the death of God in the sense of Nietzsche, we're talking about a condition which has forgotten the primordial energetic, which again, this is the ancient world tribal function of the medicine person, or of the healer, or of the shaman. It's that they are living in that realm of the quantum mechanical, as is so consistently and accurately depicted in the Tao or in the Gita. We, in a Western civilizational sense, what hypermaterialism is it's a loss of the real diagnostic chain and a failure to penetrate into the real state of being as in consciousness itself, and as such always already just resides purely on the surface of that which things appear to be, which is a trance state or a somnambulism, as I've described previously. And so we just went into Basquiat and how important he is here, because he is in a very real sense a modern medicine person, taking the guise of a Western art historical artist, visual artist, because what he's doing is he's depicting the real status of being as in the psyche. And this is necessarily why Basquiat is free to see and to see to free, if you understand what I'm saying there, because he's breaking every rule in the Western art historical canon, and all of this just appears to be the cultural churn of art and celebrity and the politics of the marketplace and the museum. And all of this is important in a political reading of Basquiat. But my reading of Basquiat is a spiritual reading at its root and foundation, where what is so important in the work that he's doing is he's necessarily collapsing the phenomenological and revealing out from under history, as in Western art history, as in Western philosophy, the great and deep and ancient remembrance of the Greek or the Egyptian or the Native American or the ancient African or the Aztec and the Mayan, which is the mythic realm, the function of the dream realm, which is always already the psychic realm, which is a deeper inner penetration into the real existential physics, the real existential pre-phenomenological physics, which is again the realm of the artist and the poet in the truest Orphic sense and form, of that which is beyond the appearance of that which is, and the working with that true unity of the cosmic and psychic energy, which is the form and formation of all forms of existence. This goes back into the waveform function. This goes back into losslessness. This goes back into the understanding of the inherent music of the cosmos, and as a process of distillation and translation at a thermonuclear meta-phenomenological level. This is ultimately described as the formless form in Eastern metaphysics, in so many words. So this, again, we discussed the breaking of the formal ground as that pseudo-system of imprisonment, and to free the real psychic energetic state of existence itself, again, out from under the genetic sedimentary body of history and material, right? This is a dormant truth, a dormant cosmological energetic truth hidden within the linguistic context of the genetic, the chemical, the elemental, which is itself a sort of frozen or amber state of the real energetic form of expression, which is necessarily eternal and infinite. This psychic energetic realm of the real interlocution of all cosmic energy, which has been imprisoned as in a chamber, as in the human body, or imprisoned. This is deeply Gnostic. To break into that code via the Orphic function to elucidate and interlocute and thus free out from under those formal and phenomenological grounds the real being, the transcendental being, within the appearance of the physical form, with all of its linguistic devices, genetic devices, the attributes which construct the appearance of the physical form, as in a progression and progressive revelation out from under the sleeping unconscious state of being. This is the awakening of nature. So when you see the ancient Greek frescoes of Orpheus playing his music with his lyre, surrounded by the animals who are listening. This is incredibly important imagery, which is lost to artifice, and it is absolutely not artifice. Because what Orpheus is doing in these pictures, it is the function of the music as in the waveform. That is enlightening at the primordial depths of the human being or the animal or nature or the cosmos itself. Enlightening that which is to the condition of itself fundamentally and at foundation, and thus is a profoundly liberatory practice of the psyche and the emergence of the liberated psyche into form, which is the free creational principle articulated in the Heraclitean axiom. The aeon is a child at play with colored balls. This a freedom of the true essential state of the grand cosmological, the grand psychological, the grand psyche, out from within the imprisoned and imprisoned chamber of the body, which is that which appears to be, as it is constructed as a linguistic device down through deep glacial sedimentary history, natural history of the process of recombination, which is unconscious nature enacting that very metaphysical axiom, that very metaphysical principle, in the way that energy functions and recombines in terms of elemental and chemical configurations and genetic configurations in space and in time. This is the grand epistemology and grand epigenealogy of the cosmos. But this is an unconscious phenomenon, as nature itself is coming into consciousness of that which it is. This is the attempt to apperceive, which is every single discipline, every single disciplinary science and philosophy of all of human history, to truly know, and to truly experience truly knowing, as in being itself. So this in many ways, as I was discussing earlier, is also Dante. And Dante has been a big theme lately as well. It's the true psychic realm being revelated and made apparent via the poetic word and function, as in an image making, a window into the energetic world which is beneath the realm of seeing appearances, seeming appearances, or unspoken status of being. This is the absolute poetic function. And the poetic function is always already a psychological function, because it is a revelation of the psyche through the poetic image, which is a drawing out of the psychic body into space and into time, as in a phenomenological emergence of the beast lurching towards Bethlehem, or the revelation of the psychic function as an emergent in the human body or in the animal or in nature itself, as the unconscious recombinatory principle of deep glacial genetic time, spatial time, grand cosmological time, the energetic principles as elucidated in thermodynamics and stellar nuclear synthesis, the character of the universe, the metaphysical character of the universe as elucidated by Heraclitus. The drawing out in real time in relation to the historical material status of individuals, communities, cultures, civilizations, worlds, biomes, biospheres, habitats, star systems. The elucidation of that inner psychic and energetic character and bringing that into the world of appearance, as in the emergence of the true nature, the very pre-symbolic state of being. But elucidating that direct connection to the pre-symbolic through the primordial symbolism of the poetic leap into the unconscious, into the energetic dimension, and drawing out that true depiction of the essential character in union with the grand cosmological and the grand psychological. And as such, liberating the being, liberating the community, liberating the culture, liberating the civilization, liberating the cosmos out from under the appearance of that which is the cyclical, everyday, the repetition of the grand unconscious recombination in the glacial sense of the universal ambling toward revelation. So that's what I got. I'll catch you on the next one.